This is my eating disorder recovery story. I will be going through how I developed the eating disorder and how I overcame it and my personal experience with the set point theory. So if this is a very sensitive topic to you, or if you're not interested, please feel free to click away. Otherwise, let's get started. And by the way, because it's a very lengthy topic, I do have notes in front of me, and if I ever look down, it's because I really don't want to waffle too much and go off topic and make this video too long. So let's get started. So it all started when I was around 15 years old, which is when I started puberty, and I don't know if it's the food in the boarding school that has been given to me that was super calorie dense, or it was because of my puberty or inactivity at the time. Basically, I gained weight fairly drastically after 6 months of moving into the boarding house. My clothes started to feel very tight around me, and I was alarmed because I only brought a few sets of clothes with me to the boarding house. Because we had uniform, we don't really need that much clothes. And to be honest, my initiation to lose weight and to enter this diet culture was because I wanted to fit in those clothes I had before. Also, I noticed a lot of Asian peers I had who were either born here or who had come a few years earlier than me. They were always talking about diet and losing weight. So as somebody who's a newcomer, I really wanted to fit in, so I also started to kind of talk about the topic that they're interested in, which is losing weight and how to be more skinny. So just to clarify the situation, I'm Chinese and I come from a cultural background where everybody is stick thin. Well, not gonna lie, there were like 1 to 2 people out of 40 in my class that were a little overnourished, but that was the minority. Most people were very skinny and underweight, and I was also one of those people that were underweight, and that was really normal across, I would say, across the whole school I was in. Also, I'm not sure what's wrong with the food in the West. I don't know if anybody can relate to me or any Asian fellows can relate to me, but whenever I go back home or I just go back to any East Asian country, I can eat whatever I want and I will lose weight. I don't know why, for some reason the food in the West is just a lot more pro-gaining and less satiating, so I always end up eating more. Anyways, back to the boarding school story. So I naturally just started to reduce my carb intake at dinner time, because I found when I ate protein and vegetables, I was able to feel full eating less. So I was doing that. However, what I did, which nobody else knew at the time, was I would go and buy carby snacks after school. I'll put in my room, and there was also a communal kitchen with bread and biscuits and jam that anybody could have at any time. So I would take bread from that communal kitchen and then leave it in my room, and then at bedtime I would secretly binge on those carby food when everybody else was asleep. And then I would call my mom at midnight crying, complaining to her that my stomach hurt so bad after the binge. There has been countless times I did that during my school years. Nobody had ever heard of eating disorder back then where I came from, so when I told my parents that I was struggling with eating issues, they were like, what even is this? And they weren't able to help me anyways. But to be honest, I also was oblivious. I also didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why I was doing this to myself. But oh man, this was just the beginning. Things really started to get worse when I started uni, because nobody could check up on how much I ate, what I ate, and when I ate anymore. My mom also got me into veganism at the time, and also fruitarianism, because it was very trendy at the time, and she thought that could be the solution to my eating issue, because she saw all those influencers able to eat a large amount of fruit and vegetable without restricting how much they were eating and still kept a really fit and slim body. So I took that on and I became a vegan for 2.5 years. Looking back, I think I felt very terrible at the time, but I was so stubborn and I was thinking that was the solution to my health, and I really believed in that so much that I was not able to see the physical and mental signs, which were obvious if you chose to see it, but if you were blind to it, you just basically were ignoring them. But they were really strong signs that this diet was not working out for me. For example, I developed depression partly because of the restrictive mindset and also the nutrient deficiencies, but then also partly due to the lack of social interaction with others, because social situations are very much linked to food and eating, and at the time it was just very triggering for me to eat with others, and I often feel left out being a vegan because at the time veganism was not so popular where I was. And the whole time I was exercising daily, I was repeatedly checking my body all the time and always wanting to become thinner and thinner. I admit that I was a little bit delusional at the time. Maybe not a little bit, maybe very delusional at the time. So towards the end of the 2.5 years, I finally had enough of veganism. I felt like I gave it a fair shot and I didn't feel better like those vegans claimed on social media, so I quit, and like many ex-vegans, I jumped immediately into carnivorism and low-carb keto diet for about 5 to 6 months as a rebellious act against those vegan rules. I felt better pretty quickly, but the dietary restriction mindset was still there. At that time, my mind was very, very exhausted with diet culture's vigorous exercise routine and have any kind of restriction or rules. So it was at that time I hit a breaking point and I decided to let it all go and got into the all-in mode. Basically, I binged on all the cookies, all the cakes, all the chips, everything, whatever I wanted, I had it, and then allowed myself to gain weight. In 3 months, I gained 10 kilos, and my body and face were all puffed up during the next year where I was in South America doing research and backpacking alone. So in one way, it was the perfect timing for me to detach from the old identity because nobody knows who I am in South America. I could start fresh. During that year in South America, where I got to learn new culture, language, and visit new places, I also saw many different body types, and people there just don't seem to care about being thin. I was 10 kilo heavier. I felt super insecure with my body. I really didn't feel like myself, but my body blended right in with the rest of the people. In Brazil, having fat thighs and butts is considered beautiful, and many people there have thunder thighs and they were pretty proud of them, which is the opposite from Asian or even European beauty standards. So I really got to see a different perspective of body positivity, which really helped me to change my mindset and understand the variety in beauty standards. It was honestly very refreshing to see new things and to not focus on diets and exercise and to actually have normal social interactions with people. Although there was still time, I fell into a relapse and wanted to lose weight and get myself together again. But overall, my body always ended up taking over and there was no shortcut. I had to go through it to get better. The set point theory is related to homeostasis. The theory posits that the human body has a predetermined weight or fat mass set point range. Various compensatory physiological mechanisms maintain that set point and resist deviation from it. When an individual loses weight, the body triggers increased appetite through modulation of satiety hormones, altered food preferences through behavior changes,
an overcompensated reduction in metabolism to drive the body weight back toward the set point range. On the other hand, weight gain also triggers compensatory mechanisms, but these are weaker than those protecting weight loss. So as you can see from the diagram below, the set point weight is at the middle, and when you go into starvation mode, your body will naturally produce stronger hunger signals and your metabolisms will naturally decrease to preserve your body from starvation. And when you're overfeeding, your hunger will naturally decrease and metabolism will increase naturally to prevent you from gaining too much weight. But as the paper suggests, the overall mechanism will favor preventing you from starvation rather than preventing you from being overfed.
Did I fear that I have to be 10 kilo heavier for the rest of my life? Yes, constantly I doubt whether the set point theory will work for everyone, whether the set point theory will actually work for me. But I also did a lot of research into the set point theory, and hearing other people who also have made it to the end of the set point theory and have recovered really helped me as well. Maybe that's why I'm doing this video, even though this is a very sensitive topic to me still. I know that when you're in recovery, how important it is to not feel that you're alone, and for somebody to tell you that there's another beautiful side at the end of your eating disorder recovery. Another thing that really helped me was remembering how I was before I developed eating disorder. Personally, I have never been chubby in my whole life. Actually, that's a lie. I was a fat baby according to my parents. But which baby is not fat? So I kind of had some confidence that my body would follow through the set point theory and will bounce back into how my body is supposed to be naturally. And with time, and when I say with time, I'm saying it took me about 2 years to stabilize, for my body to stabilize in a set point range. Pretty much for me, the first year, my hunger signal started to normalize, my body started to lose weight naturally, and by the end of the second year, I was more or less about the same as how I am now. I want you to understand that even after that 2 years, it may still take you another few years to fully recover from ED. I remember after that 2 years, I still had periods where I relapsed and wanted to lose weight and wanted to try out different diets, which caused me to binge eat again. And to be honest, I still binge eat sometimes now, but would I call it an ED? No, I wouldn't, because it just happens sometimes. It was definitely not a smooth sailing journey. It was a very emotional and messy process that involved a lot of struggles, tears, and inner strength. So well done to anyone who has managed to recover from an ED to, I would say, 90% or more, because it's truly not an easy process. Now my weight can still fluctuate in a set range. I'm not going to tell you a number because I don't want anybody to compare themselves to me, and you should always respect wherever your body wants to be right now. Now I'm going to show you a few old photos of mine that demonstrates the set point theory. This was me before the all-in period. As you can see, I was not severely underweight or super skinny. I was a normal looking girl. You absolutely do not have to be underweight to be struggling with an eating disorder. This was me during that year in South America, and this is how my body looks like now with 0 exercise and 0 diet. Lastly, I do want to mention that just because your body will want to stabilize in a set point range does not mean the set range cannot move up and down. I'm pretty sure if my diet constitutes 90% of junk and processed food, my set point weight would be much higher than I am now. But thanks to the ED, I did a 4-year degree in nutrition and food science, and I've tested every single diet under the sun, which is ridiculous, I know. Like, I still cannot believe I did that. But that also means I can say that now I understand my body well, and I have enough knowledge to formulate a pretty nutritious diet that allows my body to function in an efficient way. So if you're doubting, your weight will come down, assuming you're not having any other health issues. But I also want to encourage you to eat a little bit of everything to heal from any nutrient deficiencies, especially after that rebellious initial binge or that all-in period. This will not only help you to thrive physically and mentally, it will also help you to form a better relationship with food, which is the key to most eating disorders. My camera died, now it's nighttime. I just want to say a thank you to those of you who watched my video to the end. I hope that you'll feel encouraged after listening to my story, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Otherwise, that's it. Good night, and I'll see you next time.